I was born May 1st, 1907, on First Street, just in the 1300 block, just south of the First Street Bridge in those days. Of course, it's known as the S.W. Tucker Bridge now, after one of my former law partners. It's right across the street from the old Mount Carmel Baptist Church that my grandfather built in 1906. And of course, he died in 1913, and the congregation has since moved to Church Hill. And the old church has been destroyed for public housing.
Mr. Hill, please describe your parents.
Well,
did they raise you?
No. Last week I said my father, my mother, my father, William Henry White, Jr., and my mother was Olivia L. Lewis, and my father deserted. I said that he was doing according to the divorce papers. He was an alcoholic, but I don't know whether that's quite true or not. But anyway, I said he did us a favor by leaving us early, and I was reared by my great-grandmother and an aunt until I was 6 years old. And then my grandmother, who was living in Scranton, Virginia, came to Richmond. I always assumed to die. Of course, she died a few days after she got here. And my mother and stepfather came to Richmond to attend the funeral, and they decided to carry me back to Roanoke with them. They were living in Roanoke then, but they had formerly worked up in Homestead, up in Bath County, Homestead Hotel, and she used to dip water sulfur water for the guests, and he was a bellman. But they had moved down to Roanoke and were living with a family named Mr. and Mrs. Pentecost, B.S. Pentecost. And he was operating a pool room on Norfolk Avenue. And just as he was built a little stand, going to teach me how to play billiards and all that sort of stuff. I might have been Virginia Fats, but Virginia went dry in 1915, and that killed the neighborhood. So
when you say went dry, you mean Prohibition?
Prohibition, yeah.
Yes.
And he couldn't find a decent spot to open up another pool room anywhere in Roanoke, so he went on back up to Hot Springs, worked at the hotel. And my mother, I had entered school by that time, I was 7 years. Meantime, we were living at 39 Gilmer Avenue, and it was common practice in those days. Two families lived in their house and shared the kitchen and other common facilities. And but Pentecostals had just bought a house on 401 Gilmer Avenue, and this was summertime.
This is in Roanoke.
It was all in Roanoke, yeah.
Yes.
And every now and then we'd go up there and see how the renovations were coming. And so I was so comfortable with the Pentecostals that my mother decided, instead of staying in Roanoke so I could go to school in Roanoke rather than that one-room school in Bath County, that she's going up there and just let Miss Pentecost never raised me. So that's what happened.
Were
From the time
these...
I was 8 until I was 16.
Until you were 16. I'm sorry, sir.
Oh, yeah.
Who were influential in your development as a child?
Oh, I think, well, of course, I had my early days were fine. I mean, we were poor as Job's turkey hen, as they used to have an expression, because I don't ever remember seeing a newspaper or a book or a magazine or anything like that.
Did you know you were poor at the time?
Oh, no.
No.
It had nothing to be crazy about. But as I say, and I have a picture made when I was 4 in my little Buster Brown suit, so I know they were interested in me. And as I say, I never was abused. I never have any recollection of ever being hungry, not having something to eat. And only time I remember having a whipping was somebody had been to a picnic and they brought me back a crab, boiled crab. And I wanted to eat my crab, and my aunt wanted me to get dressed and go downtown. See, back in those days, people dressed up and went downtown. They didn't go down like they do now, all casual, as they call it. But and I insisted I want to eat my crab. She insisted that I should go in the house and get dressed. And finally, she got a little whipping and went in the house and got dressed and went downtown. I don't remember what happened to the crab.
Sounds like you had a very supportive family, so many people were influential in your life as a child.
So that's when I went to, when I went back, when they moved to Roanoke, we lived down at 401. That was what's known in those days as changing neighborhood. And it was about half white and half black. You ever hear of Ed Dudley?
Yes.
He was president of New York one time.
Yes.
Yeah, but Ed's father was a dentist, and he lived next door. And Margaret and Dr. Roberts lived next door to him. And a man named Edwards, who was a trainman, a switchman in the yards at the North and Western Railroad, where trains would come in, they would cut in a car or take out a car. And he also was Secretary of Treasury of the Association of Colored Trainmen and Locomotive Firemen. And they did great work. Charlie Houston represented them against the Brotherhoods and landmarkation and employment. Of course, by that time I was one of his little assistants. See, back in my day, May Day, May 1st was regarded as May Day, sort of semi-holiday. And we'd do the, what do you call it, march in and out around the maypole.
Oh, yes.
I started with my ninth grade birthday. I started having birthday parties. And from the first one to the last 16, the kids in the neighborhood or a whole lot of one in the neighborhood came, whether invited or not. And we only lived a block away from the ice cream parlor, so if ice cream ran out, I would just run up there and get some more ice cream cookies. That got to be a big event. That was a big event every year, because most kids didn't have no birthday parties. And Christmas time, we always had a great big tree, and it was loaded down with presents. Because we had a large house there, and frequently we had 2 or 3 other fellows who worked on trains. They'd work one year and go to school next and that sort of thing. As a matter of fact, one of them was named Davenport. I never forget Mr. Davenport. They were all from Chattanooga, Pentecost and all of them. And Davenport eventually, after he finished college, became principal of the high school down in Chattanooga. But anyway, the tree would be loaded. I was the only kid, and I'd sit there and look at it. I wouldn't even touch anything. I wanted everybody to see how nice it looked, but like they hadn't seen it. But as I say, all kinds of gifts and things.